the kids from Murray Ridge were here selling cold drinks. So this is the regular Friday meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We're going to fly the old-fashioned way today. The internet is down. Microsoft's got a cloud problem, so some of our high tech you won't get the advantage of, but we will conduct the business of the county and get it done. So before we do that, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Riddell.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Hahn. Here. We have a quorum. Did you want to go to Visitors Bureau first?
Yes.
Okay. Gary Gibbs, Executive Director of the Visitors Bureau.
I thought we wanted to do children. Okay.
Gary's got to get out to the county for the fest.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gary Gibbs, Visitors Bureau, 226 Middle Avenue. And came up just to give you a recap or a kind of a cliff notes or snapshot of this last weekend. We had a very,
You might have it up there.
what's that?
Do you have the pictures up there, or do I need to show these?
No, Victor has them back
Yeah,
there.
Victor has
Okay.
them.
You want
He
to
has
toss up number one picture there, Victor? I know I gave him to the,
Yep, there we go.
oh, there we go. So we had a total of about 4,200. We parked over 300 classic cars were out there. We had 46 aircraft. The aircraft for the air show, what we do out at the airport is a static show, which means everything happens on the ground. Nothing happens in the air in regards to that. But the airplanes, I negotiate them out of the museums, and also some are privately owned and so forth. But we have a good combination of civil and military aircraft out there. We had the largest show we've ever had in regards to that. Why don't you go through the other couple of pictures there? Kind of shows the people on the tarmac. And it was a beautiful day. Of course, something like this, you count 80% for the weather. And go ahead, Victor, go to the next one. Yeah, and that shows you all the cars and kind of the whole layout of the airport to get people out there. And actually, the only really hiccup that we had that I asked Neil, a gentleman who's head of the radio controlled, how things were doing. Could we also do radio controlled aircraft out there? And actually, they actually do radio control with jets. And because of the parking issue, we kind of infringed on some of their area in regards to that. So we had to shut down some of the remote control in regards to that. But I've always appreciated the commissioners coming out for it. And Victor, why don't you show? I've got just a 1-minute clip of how the Cleveland stations covered us, and there's no doubt we're on the map for events and activities that we do out here because we do get their attention. So go ahead.
It was an exciting event for the whole family at the Lorain County Airport on Saturday for this year's Discover Aviation Airplane and Car Show. Classic cars from all across our area made it out to the event, and there are dozens of aircraft from all eras, including planes that flew in World War II and Korea. One highlight was a Mitchell B-25 bomber carrying flags that once covered the coffins of Lorain County veterans in a flight from the airport to a war memorial nearby in one-of-a-kind tribute. Organizers say the crowds this year were even bigger than what they expected.
We have all sorts of aircraft here, anything from home-built airplanes, antique airplanes, modern airplanes. We have some warbirds. We have Beach City Baby. We were hoping for about 2,000 people, and we're guessing we probably have 3,000 to 5,000 right now.
There were also plenty of classic cars, and eagle-eyed Fox 8 viewers may have noticed one car in particular, the original one-tank trip car that Neil Zerker's 1959 Nash Metropolitan was also on display.
Yes, actually, Neil Zerker is still around, and talked to him on Saturday, and he brought his car, which was a highlight there for the car show. But once again, I thank the commissioners. They've always come out in the past to support it. Commissioner Moore was out this weekend, and I know Commissioner Hung, she's come out a couple times over the last 4 years. It's been in this type format, but do appreciate the support. And also the financial support. Everything that we do in regards to this comes strictly from the hotel, bed tax, occupancy tax, and putting it once again back into the community and showing off the jewel that we have sitting out there in Russia Township in regards to that. And just one other note I want to say, if you don't have anything else, usually any weekend or even during the week, we have a lot of activities going on this weekend. There's Summerfest going on at Lorain County Fairgrounds, and it's a barbecue cook-off with pulled pork, pulled pork, baked beans, and chicken wings. So we're having a competition. We have about 14 vendors that are competing in that category, as well as we have classic car, and we have 3 bands out there. So please come out. We're out there from about 8 to 10 in the evening on Saturday, and we're giving out several awards and trophies for different categories in the show, as well as the cook-off in regards to that. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If anybody has a question, and also put on your calendar for next year. The show is July 12th out at the airport, and already under contract, I've got the Tuskegee Airmen display is coming in, and it's one. There's only one in the country. It's about 100 foot by 80 foot, and as well as their aircraft's going to come in. And out of the Tuskegee Airmen, there's actually 4 still living, and there's one actually that still travels with the display. So anyway, next year it's July 12th, and once again, if you ever want to know what activities are going on in Lorain County or events, just go on to LorainCountyOhio.gov, and you'll see the calendar, and just click on the date you're interested in enjoying something here in the county. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, I know that you took quite a bit of heat for those Eclipse billboards in Cuyahoga County, but it looks like you've earned their respect and attention.
Well, yeah. Well, the main thing is that the crowds that were leaving our county and going back to Cleveland was pretty heavy all day because of that. And with the bed tax, with what was spent, because I'm on the board for the Visitors Bureau, that we already made up that money that was spent in order to promote Lorain County as the place to be for the Eclipse. Now, last night I was at the Township Trustee Association, and I better warn you, I was promoting you and how to reach out to you so that other communities like Amherst and the Fair Board should be able to reach out to you and say if they have other activities similar, then maybe you can assist them in marketing.
So I'm glad the computers are down then today.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, as far as marketing, Commissioner Riddell, I always felt 40 years, of course, I've been in the industry with the airlines and hotels, and I always felt that any type of advertising is good advertising as long as they spell your name right.
Yep.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Thank you,
Thanks, Gary. And good job.
Next, we'll go to our presentation on the 1.8 mil renewal request levy from Lorain County Children's Services. Christine Foxberg, the director, and I believe Jim Miller's here too.
Oh,
Good morning.
morning. How are you? Yeah, here, I'll get them both. And there we go.
Good morning.
Good
I'm-
morning.
Morning.
I'm Kristen Fox-Berkey. I'm the Executive Director at Lorain County Children's Services. With me today is the Board Chair of our Lorain County Children's Services Board, Jim Miller. I appreciate you having us here today. I've probably been with this agency for 27 years, starting out as a caseworker, working in the homes of our community's most vulnerable children and families. As you likely know, Lorain County Children's Services is responsible for assessing allegations of child abuse and neglect, and then providing the services to the impacted children and their families. We are nationally accredited by the Council on Accreditation and have been since 1999. LCCS is one of only 11 public child protection agencies in Ohio who are accredited through COA. COA sets the best practice standards for agencies to strive to achieve. We are supported by a 13-member board, which is appointed by the county commissioners, and we are supervised by the Department of Children and Youth. The workforce of Lorain County Children's Services is just shy of 150 people, with an additional 70 licensed foster families. Of the employed staff, around 80 provide individualized casework services to Lorain County's at-risk families, children and their families, or they provide casework services to foster and kinship homes and help support them. The first phrase of our mission statement is, "In partnership with the community." And we take this very seriously. The community of Lorain County citizens not only keeps an eye out for the safety and well-being of our community's most vulnerable children, but the residents also contribute over half of our agency's budget through our long-standing levy. While our work is framed by federal and state rules and laws, it is informed by the values our community holds and its strong interest in providing help to those in need. Let me provide some data to put our critical work into context and to share with you the shifts and changes that have occurred since our levy was last approved by voters in 2020. In 2023, last year, LCCS received nearly 5,000 calls from our community. This comes out to be a new referral every 2.5 hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As first responders to situations involving child abuse and neglect, our staff is available around the clock to assess safety of the children who are brought to our attention. Some of those referrals are duplicate calls. Some are from people worried about children, but the situation isn't of abuse or neglect, so they can be referred to other organizations for help. However, over 1,500 of those referrals were screened in, and a caseworker was assigned to work with the identified child and the family. Our staff fully assess each unique situation by meeting with all members of the family, viewing the living environment the children are in, interviewing children alone, and talking with collateral contacts about their own observations of the situation. If it is determined that abuse or neglect has occurred, an ongoing involvement by LCCS is determined to be needed for the family in order to keep the children safe. If it is determined that abuse or neglect has occurred and ongoing involvement by LCCS is determined to be needed, our social workers remain involved to assist with identifying services that address any issues the family is struggling with and that may be placing the child at risk. Over the course of 2023, over 1,300 children needed our ongoing services of case management and support. On average, our cases remain open for about 15 months. Well, anyone can call us about a child that they have a concern about. 75% of the referrals that we receive are from mandated reporters. So those are the individuals who are required by law to report concerns they have about children to Children's Services. People like other social service staff, doctors, nurses, law enforcement, court personnel. In fact, the calls that we receive from mandated reporters, nearly a third are from teachers. You may wonder what some of the issues are that families that come to our attention are dealing with. Well, when we look at the data from more than 1,500 assessments that have been completed by our staff, the three most prevalent issues that come up are parenting practices, substance abuse, and emotional and mental health issues. Frequently, we see these issues overlapping within one family. Some of the services that we provide to our community include investigation and assessment of allegations of child abuse and neglect, case management for children and families, placement for children who are deemed to be at imminent risk of harm, and independent living skills for youth in custody, ages 14 to 18, foster care licensing and supportive services to those foster families, and licensing for adoptive homes. In addition to those services that I just listed, we also provide kinship services. One of the changes that we have seen since the last time we had a levy up was the need for more children to stay with grandparents, relatives, and close family friends. This is to ensure their safety and allow parents time to correct the significant issues that are happening in their home which brought children into our custody via the domestic relations court. In the past, the court would grant custody to a relative if a child was not able to safely stay in their own home. While LCCS worked with the family, the parents, in order to correct some of the issues going on, the child was cared for by a relative who held temporary custody of them. However, recently, Ohio changed that law. So kinship families now have the choice to go through a process similar to that of a licensed foster parent. They're able to receive their own licensing and to receive some state funding to help care for children that they're taking care of. This new arrangement requires that the child remain in our custody and while placed with a relative for at least 6 months. This has caused the number of children in our custody to increase by 64%. It is always preferred that a child who cannot stay safely in their own home stay with a qualified relative. However, there are times when that is not possible, and that is when children are placed in one of our highly qualified foster homes. LCCS recruits, trains, licenses, and provides supportive services to our own foster families. Foster care, whether a child is staying with a licensed kinship provider or a traditional foster home, is always meant to be temporary. During the next levy cycle, Lorain County Children's Services will open a new visitation center for families separated by foster care. Being able to create a state-of-the-art facility to provide high-quality visits will keep families connected, help them build healthier bonds, and hopefully we'll be able to resume full-time parenting with their child sooner. In 2023, half of the children who exited foster care went home. Either they went home to the primary parent or they went home to a relative. Of the other children who exited, many were adopted or found permanency through guardianship with a relative. We certainly cannot achieve the outcomes we achieve for children and families without support of the community and the strong safety net. We partner and we collaborate with entities and experts whenever we can. We know we achieve more together than alone. This includes our partnership with the Integrated Services Partnership under the umbrella of the Mars Board and the Children and Families First Council of Lorain County, both which assist community with expediting and managing more complex cases we encounter. We are able to do this hard but meaningful work with at-risk families and children because of taxpayer support that we receive. We receive federal and state funding, but the majority of our funding comes from the local levy. We are asking our community to support a 1.8 mil renew levy. Renew levies do not increase taxes. People simply continue to provide us what they have been providing us for the previous 5 years. Protecting children from abuse and neglect is really a team effort, and we always appreciate being on your team. We respectfully ask that you place the 1.8 mil renew levy to provide services to Lorain County's abused and neglected children on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. Thank you.
Any questions?
Excuse me. The building on Route 58, I know as the Visitors Bureau, we worked with your organization to help out with children, because they do have to come to this building, which is a scary building on the 3rd floor, and the fact is, the reason why you're renting from us is because your facility or your organization is not allowed to own property, correct?
Correct.
I just want to let people know, but I'm excited to see that you're taking something that's been empty, a government building that, when they designed that building 20-some years ago, it just, everybody knows the building on Route 58. But
Right.
now, think about the vision now. If you're a kid and you're a big Star Wars fan or whatever, you're pulling into that building. I think it's more family-friendly, child-friendly, And I think it's a great opportunity for your organization to have something to really maybe take the edge off for the troubles that people are seeing.
We're very excited about this opportunity.
How's that, where's that at right now? Is that still about another few months away?
It is.
Okay,
Yes, we're getting closer and closer. I think I would consider it the second phase of the project.
okay,
You know, we have a full-time architect, and we have floor plans that are pretty much completed. Working with engineers right now on like the electrical stuff, things like
Okay.
that. Data drops, getting all that organized. And the next step will be to put this out for bid.
okay, fantastic. I think it's a great opportunity for your organization,
Yes.
so.
Thank you.
So could you explain for a second how you're able to take this hugely increased caseload, but you're asking only for the renewal, which is not an increase in taxes?
Well, we're doing this. What? Well, we have a little bit of a carryover, but we're also trying to be very, very responsible with taxpayer money. So we're looking at finances very closely, and we're really, you know, we had this increase in kids in care, but it's really been a spike, and we're trying to really figure out when it's going to start to plateau. I think we're going to see some changes with that. It's been kind of hard to know for sure if it's going to continue that way or not, but we're just being really responsible with the money that we have right now, and we appreciate the support that the community gives us.
I thought it was very interesting. I ran across a couple of the folks that are grandparents that are working under your new program, and I was one that was very suspicious when the state allowed the grandparents to get the same financial support as foster parents. I thought it was a little funny, but then I realized that not all grandparents are prepared to raise a second family financially.
Correct.
You know, that they've done their job, they raised their children, and things don't work out. They just don't have the financial wherewithal to provide that quality of home life in their retiring years. So when you're on pension and Social Security and whatnot. So it turned out I was impressed by getting the quality back in it and providing the financial support. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yes, I'm very happy that the state of Ohio was able to figure out a way to do this. Children are expensive. And, you know, and when all of a sudden you have 2, 3 extra children that you weren't expecting to raise, it's a strain on your income, yes.
It's one of those cases where Columbus, they had the act right.
Well,
Right.
yeah, but it's been an issue with this organization for probably 15, 20 years because grandparents have always stepped up to help out their own kids who are having troubles. And
That is very true.
I'm just glad that they're finally getting some financial assistance.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Do
Any
we
other
need-
questions, comments?
now, do we make a motion
Yeah,
to?
Teresa, could we move the resolution up to this point and
Yes.
handle it while they're here?
Yes, you want me to read it? Resolution declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation for the benefit of the Children's Services Board of Lorain County for the purpose of providing for expenditures necessary for the support of children's services, for the care and placement of abused, neglected, and dependent children, and for the Bureau of Children with Medical Handicaps in order to supplement the county general fund for these purposes pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 5705.24 at a rate not exceeding 1.8 mil for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 18 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.24, which levy is upon the entire territory of Lorain County and is a renewal of an existing levy. Said levy shall be submitted to electors of the entire territory of Lorain County at the election to be held November 5th of 2024 and be placed on tax duplicate for the year 2025, first due for collection in 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye?
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Let the campaign
Yeah,
begin.
yeah, now the hard part.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in, and thank you all for coming in to support in the back.
Okay. Under resolutions number 1, investments.
Don't we have a presentation, or
No, that's
under
it. Okay,
what about the 6119?
that's under the,
That's under your report? We're gonna turn control of that over to you?
yeah. John, do you want
All
to
right.
let them? It's your call, Mr. President.
Oh, boy. Can we do that? Can we do that first? Sure. How is our electronic capabilities? Do we have the ability, or do we need to manually do the PowerPoint?
I have it.
He has it, I got
Thank you, Victor.
I was just gonna ask if that got
Man
emailed.
behind the curtain.
Lou McMahon, from McMahon Gillis, is here. He's the lead man for putting this together tonight. Jeff Duke back here, and Mayor Forthover is joining us from the Mayor of Vermillion, to show support and to discuss the chances of Vermillion
Good.
coming into 6119.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Lou McMahon. My firm is McMahon DeGullis. We have offices in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And my office is in Cleveland on Huron Road. But I'm also a very happy resident of Sheffield Lake. So I'm very glad to be here and talk about this process that's been underway since last summer and where it's going. So next slide, please. So there's an just as a quick overview of what we're going to talk about, I want to talk about, again, remind everybody what this 6119 is, what the public processes are that lead to the formation of that, an establishment of such a district, what types of analyses that have been underway and have been done to date, and what is the anticipated timeline for proceeding. This becomes very public very soon because you're creating a new government. This is essentially what's going on. So next slide, please. This is right out of the statute. A 6119 is a political subdivision, sort of like a special purpose government, the way a Metro Parks is, or a school board, or anything like that. It is a government under the statutes of Ohio. It can be, under the statute, it can be for water, wastewater, stormwater. What's focused on here is a regional wastewater treatment 6119. There's existing 6119s in this county. Lorco is a 6119 that was established in the 1990s. So again, what's focused on here is not water, not stormwater, but a regional wastewater 6119 entity. Next slide, please. This is the process right out of the statute. So while there have been a lot of discussions for the last year, and it takes a lot of analysis, I'll get into that, of how you get to this, it becomes very public when you create a new government. You have to, in this process, petitioners, those who are willing to go forward with creating this, need to have, even before they ever go to court, they need to have a public hearing. And they have to take the comments from that public hearing and consider them. And then they have to file a petition with the Common Pleas Court. The Common Pleas Court then has processes it can do. It can have a preliminary hearing if it's requested. It can have a final petition if everything is in place with the plan and everything, which is then a court hearing where people can come and express their opinion about it. But that's after the public hearings that happen among the petitioners. So it's the plan and petition pretty much have to be out there in place before you ever go to court, and then it's a public process in court to create this government. Next slide, please. This is sort of a flow chart that gives the same thing I had out of the statute. Again, there's a provision right in the statute that anytime, if there's a preliminary hearing, anytime after that, the court can ask for changes to a feasibility study that is necessary for the court to be able to find that this is beneficial and necessary for the general welfare. So again, it becomes a very public process. But leading up to that, it's a very complex process with a lot of different analyses about legal, financial, what assets can do, what regulatory compliance issues there may be. And that's what's been underway. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. This is part of the public hearing that would lay all that out in detail. Again, this is in the statute that you have to have a public hearing before you ever approach the court. And these are the elements that have to go in there. At the meeting, the petitioners have to lay it all out, show the public and anybody interested what is going on, and then take those comments and consider them and revise as necessary before they go to court. All right, so the next slide are the types of analyses that have been going on. You know, approval of this requires a detailed plan. You have to show that this new entity, what it's going to do, what it's going to own, how it's going to be financially viable, where it's going to operate, what its specific area is, why it's beneficial and necessary for the public. So here we're looking at a regional wastewater utility that would only include willing political subdivisions, that would look at some regional assets and optimizing where those regional assets could operate better as a regional entity. And then also be in position for analyzing future growth in the county and economic development, again, among willing participants. So you can't create this. Ohio law excludes any municipality. You can't be forced into a 6119. It's only willing participants that would be in the entity. And then it would be positioned to do studies as to, maybe on a broader scale of analysis as to where future assets are optimum, what's the best, lowest cost way to go forward on certain things. So, next slide, please. The goals of the participants who have been involved in this, again, it's taking this very complex things. How can we optimize existing assets by people who want to participate in that, and look at and be in position for future possibilities? And so, the ultimate goal is to maintain the lowest wastewater treatment of a regional entity. This is a treatment-focused wastewater entity, not a collection system entity. That would still, collection systems and local questions about economic development would remain with the local governments. This would be, how do we put in position long-term, low-cost wastewater treatment for sanitary flow that can serve in the future for a growing county? Where can we put those assets? What's optimum? What does the law allow? Where is regulation going for environmental regulation that a regional entity might be able to meet? How can we optimize existing assets, again, and how can we plan for the future? I think it's important to note that these goals are really aligned. This is a very ripe moment with the state of Ohio's goals for how they want to approach infrastructure and particularly wastewater. Ohio has, as part of their Ohio EPA, in their looking at resiliency, has looked at regionalization of small plants. In their view, a number of small plants is something, if you have something catastrophic, it's more difficult to get a bunch of small plants online than a large one. One large one, they can focus their energies on that. You can have redundancy at a large plant. You can have, the other part that Ohio EPA is looking at is increasing regulation. Things like PFAS or nutrient regulation that are coming down the pike and staring at us are very difficult to do on a bunch of small plants. PFAS control measures or removal measures are going to be very expensive. And if you're going to do those, it's much better to get the economy of scale at regional plants to those. So the state is very much supporting regionalization of small plants into regional plants. And then the other part that the state's very interested in is economic development and regional master planning. How do we position ourselves to get sewers in particular, in this case, and other infrastructure into those places that can help the state and local governments attract large entities? The obvious example is Intel in Columbus, other things like that. How do we get ourselves in position where we have available land, but the utilities aren't there, as these large entities are looking to land in shorter time frames? The state is very interested in that. So an entity like this can be in position to, again, optimize something today, but be in position to do master planning for how you can deliver that in other parts of the county where there's willing participants. Next slide, please. So the next steps, again, all this analysis is going on because you have to have a very detailed plan. It has to pencil out. The math has to work, right? It's got to be viable, and you got to show that it's going to be viable when it's created. And so that analysis is undergoing work right now. The parties that may be involved have to sometimes look at, are there interests in real estate that need to be transferred? Are there legal agreements that have to be in place for certain assets? That is the kind of the analysis that's going on right now. Once that's all coalesced into something complete, then the process becomes very, very public. And all that has to be put, like I said, before the public, reviewed, everyone kicks the tires on it. Anybody who's interested will be able to look at it, critique it, and then it would go to court. Our hope is that if we can get all that together, that even this fall, there would be public hearings, and that there may be a filing with the court by the end of the year. But that's all subject to getting all of our work done and agreements among the willing participants. So, just in summary, go to the last slide, please. You know, what is the 6119? This is a special purpose government, but here it would be created only by willing participants, those who want to be in it. No one will be forced to be in that. What are the public processes that are going to happen? As I mentioned, there'll be public hearings, or at least one public hearing with detailed explanation of what is being presented, and then there's court proceedings after that. What types of analyses? A lot of financial analyses, including long-range projections. You got to figure out how do you accommodate debt, what projects have to be done, are there transfers of assets or interests? All that is being worked on right now. And then what is the anticipated timeline? Again, hopefully this fall, this will all coalesce and we'll be in position to have public hearings specifically on what is being proposed before then maybe getting to file in court before the end of the year. That's the summary I have. I don't know, Jeff, if you had anything else or if you...
Mayor Brockover might want to add because his comments, we've been working with the city of Vermillion through the process, and the first meeting, I think, Mayor, that was an impromptu with city council, and one of the city councilmen, can we move it tonight? There's a whole process we had to go through over there too, is to process it. So,
That's
Mayor.
correct. That's absolutely correct. And well, thank you, Commissioners. First of all, Commissioner
Welcome,
Rydell.
Mayor.
Welcome, Mayor.
Pardon?
I say welcome, Mayor.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am Jim Forthover, Mayor of the City of Vermillion, small town on a Great Lake. This is my 7th year as mayor. I often tell people I had to retire to find the best job I ever had. It's a beautiful city. I mean, the people are just fantastic. Anyone who comes to Vermillion, particularly this time of year, is just taken aback by its beauty and its quaintness, its history. But like many northern older cities, it has an infrastructure that is direly in need of attention. We have both a water plant and a wastewater plant. And the wastewater plant is conspicuously in need of help. I think it was last seriously updated probably when the Browns were playing Baltimore in the playoffs in 1962 or something like that. But recently, about 3 years ago, the federal U.S. EPA came to Vermillion and said, you are under a mandate that you have to effectively, completely renovate and rehab that entire plant. It's almost like building a new plant in place. Estimated cost is about $76 million. We have less than 5,000 households. This is a heavy, heavy burden for the people of Vermillion. Now, about a year ago, County Administrator Armbruster and Commissioner Moore came to the City of Vermillion council meeting and proposed the idea of the regional, or described the idea of the proposed regionalization of wastewater, and that Vermillion would be invited to join it. The City Council immediately embraced the idea, as did the administration. And the residents, I actually have yet to find a resident who doesn't think this is a good idea. And I want to be clear, there is a selfish, immediate reason why Vermillion would want to become part of the proposed 6119, which is to help get us out from under some of the cost of this current mandate. But being the guy who's in charge of the vision for the city of Vermillion, I'm telling you that this city is going to grow. It's the last exit off of Route 2 heading west that has not yet been fully developed. And we have big projects regularly knocking on our door. There's one right now that would increase the population of the town by about 10 to 15%. And although we may have the capacity within our own facility, as old as it is, to handle that, down the road, this city needs to consider an alternative that bearing its own infrastructure. And I think the idea of a regionalized wastewater infrastructure to begin with is an excellent idea, and it's perfectly fit for communities like Vermillion, who are growing and have to reconsider exactly how we feed these services and whether or not our tax base can handle it. It's a good idea, and I think it's one that perfectly fits Vermillion. So we welcome the discussions we've had with Administrator Armbruster and his team. We encourage the commissioners to favorably consider the next steps in development of this, and the city of Vermillion will be looking with interest at where the next steps go, and we'll be happy to feed to the federal U.S. EPA the fact that we are interested in this and hopefully share with them some of the progress that we're having so that we can start looking toward the future instead of having to go back and fix our past. So, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I think for those of us that are involved in this process, we're struck by two goals that are accomplished. And those two goals are driven from the fact that we, the people of the northern, especially the northern part of the state, have decided that we want to clean up Lake Erie, and we want to make sure that it stays that way and keep it from getting any new problems. The EPA's part of that process is they would like to limit the number of entities that are distributing waste into Lake Erie and elevate the level of treatment. And as the mayor just said, that they have capacity in their plant, but they do not have the ability to provide all of the treatment that is available and that we would want in order to keep Lake Erie the way it is. So the beneficiary of the 6119 is not only the people in cleaning up Lake Erie, but in regionalizing for economic development and making sure that we can provide that component to people that want to come to Lorain County. But our existing entities already are facing, Vermillion is not the only one facing this problem. We have several other communities in Lorain, and they've not volunteered to come forward, so we won't mention their names yet, but they're operating under some sanctions and problems with the EPA. And the 6119 is all about the processing of the waste. Everybody else, they can bring whatever they want to the plant, but it's elevating the quality of what we put back into Lake Erie. The benefit for the residents, and that they should consider when creating another new government entity, which is not always a popular concept, is that there are huge economies of scale in the sewage treatment business, the wastewater treatment business. That's why the little plants take $78 million to get up to snuff, and we have other communities facing the same thing. But we can deliver lower cost sewage treatment to all the residents of Lorain County, and we can do it on an equitable basis. In a perfect world, if we had the whole county involved, everybody in the county would pay the same for their wastewater, and for many, it would be less than what they're currently paying. So, yeah, it's not a very romantic subject. It's not always popular to create a new government entity, but I applaud our management team for persevering through all of that noise and helping us make Lorain County not only a great place to visit, but a great place to move here and build your factory and put our residents to work. So thank you for the presentation, and Mayor, thank you for putting yourself out there for us. We appreciate that. Anything else you want to add, Jeff? Please say no.
We want to move this process quickly. We needed to get it done, and it's going to change the face of Lorain County back to where it was when the steel plants came in and Ford came here. I mean, we're really excited about it, all of us on the team, and I know the three of you are very excited about it too.
Yeah. I don't know if excited is the correct word, but determined. And I would remind you, Jeff, that in this process, that building a consensus is important. And so since P comes before Q in the alphabet, let us be prudent and as quick as we can.
Will keep me on track.
I don't think we can afford this. I don't think we have the luxury of thinking that everybody has the same level of knowledge on the subject as those of you that are carrying the load. Thank you.
Mr. President, problem I have is I've already built the wastewater treatment plant. It's already functioning
Oh, okay.
in my mind.
Let's get
Lou,
the
I had a
hearings.
question on, you, when you were up here talking, you brushed on it very quickly, and then I looked at the paperwork to see if it was on there. If an event, there was a catastrophic event, can you just expand a little more on that, because you went by it quickly?
Yeah, I went by everything quickly, my apologies. So, yeah, this is Ohio EPA mentioned this in last August when you had the kickoff meeting. So the federal government has asked, the federal EPA has asked all the states that implement the Clean Water Act to look at resiliency questions. And what does it mean to be more resilient? The question that Ohio has seen during some major flooding events in the last 10, 15 years, we have larger storms than we've had in the past, is that, they have difficulty going to small towns and areas and trying to get little package plants in particular, or small city plants, up and running. There's not a lot of redundancy. There's not a lot of, large plants have to have redundant power supply, for example. That's been in place since the blackout. Not smaller plants don't have all the same obligations that large plants do. The personnel that would be available, if you have a large regional entity, they would have personnel who are available and able to get there. A lot of package plants, a lot of small plants are not manned every day of the week. And there's actually a shortage of certified operators in the state. So if you regionalize, you can have all the qualified people and the number of people that you need to respond quickly. Those are some of the things that the state has cited when they talk about resiliency through regionalization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Comments. I had a meeting with KEM on Wednesday and met with them in regards to they're doing the work for us along Baumhart Road, which is where a lot of this started. And as I said, like, sometimes it's just dumb luck we get to that. Vermillion had a need, and we were working on the west side of our county's production. One of the things I asked them to perform, and they should have that in about a month, is the cost per acre. And that what they're doing is, how can we get the developers, because let's face it, if this system does, which I know will come in and get pulled off, it comes back to saying how we're going to pay for it. And that's my thing, is how do we sit there, and that's what they're going to start working on for me. Well, at least I've asked them to do that for Jeff, is to get them the information to show how we can get shared private and public dollars together to at least complete it. Because right now, at the end of the day, we could have the greatest plan in the world, but if we don't have the funding. And so I know they're in the process of working on that, and no, that's okay. I just want to let you know that's what I'm more worried about between not really Vermillion's aspect to it, but all the way down to the quarries, which is what we're looking at. At least that's what the original plan. We used ARPA dollars 2 years ago to investigate.
Well, what Red Talis is doing for us, and Jeff Duke is here, I mean, they have a complete
Analysis.
You really need to hear it since
Yeah, I
you
do.
brought it up.
I just, like I said, it was
Jeff Duke from Ref Talis.
right. I don't mind. The more experts we have talking, the better off we're going to be.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Jeff Duke. I'm a principal consultant with Ref Talis. I'm actually, I live in Burke Park, Ohio.
That's okay. We'll let that slide.
Okay. But my brother is in Lorain County. But I used to work for the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for 30
Okay.
years. So I have a little bit of familiarity with 6119 development and expansion, and that's part of what I'm working on with Raftelis. So Raftelis, we're a nationwide financial utility management consulting firm. And what we've done with Lorain County, working with Lou, working with Matt at K.E. McCartney, we've developed a financial model that allows us to support the 6119 development scenarios, such as Baumhart Road.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume I'll be following up with Matt. I assume you met with Matt at K.E. McCartney there.
Is one of them.
Yeah. So what we'll be working on with the team here is to be able to provide that cost per acre, or maybe cost per treatment unit. So if a developer wants to come in and we'll provide so much flow to a new regional plant, we can kind of estimate what that cost for their services would be there. So
I'm
that's
trying to
part
look
of
at the,
our- that's
I'm
part of
looking
our
at the
financial
overall
analysis.
project because I don't, right now, there's options being laid out all along Ballheart Road, right?
So yes, well, what we're trying to do is develop a model that will be flexible enough that whatever scenario happens down the road, or
Yeah.
you'll be able to look at multiple scenarios and see what the best situation will be. Some of our key inputs will be capital costs, such as what does the new Baumhart Road sewer cost? What does the new treatment plant cost, depending on things like the nutrient requirements and things like that moving forward? What would flows look like depending on Vermillion coming in and things like that? So we are looking at developing that tool to allow whatever analysis is needed to support, future decision-making.
Yeah, 'cause at the bottom line, it comes down to the money.
Yes, it
Okay.
does. So.
Yep, shared costs are great, thanks.
My understanding, Commissioner, is that there's also, between Public Works and the EPA, state and federal, there's also support, understanding that there's an upfront cost to this kind of transition that, it's hard for taxpayers to, pay for the future. They like to pay for today, but not the future. But the good news is there's a tremendous amount of government support that's available for this, but you gotta have the plan.
Right.
Gotta have the plan. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm sure Vermillion needs their mayor back.
Okay.
So thanks. No, I'm just, I think you sit through enough meetings on your own. You don't want to sit through ours, do you?
Hey, it's Friday afternoon
Yeah.
in Vermillion. He needs to shed the sport coat and the tie.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in, Mayor. Yeah,
Thank you both for.
thanks.
And thank you to everybody in the room for allowing us to adjust the schedule.
Resolutions?
Resolutions.
Number 1, investments.
10:25, wow. Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number 2, appropriations.
We're going old school here. Let's see. Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number 3, transfers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number 4, advances, repayments, there were none. Number 5, requisitions, and there's 2 pages.
Come on, Jeff.
Page 1. Kind of crooked, but,
Okay, Teresa, can we have page 2?
yep, hold on.
Glad you painted your nails.
We're not as fast as a computer here.
Weren't you telling me before the meeting that you're excited to go back to the old school way?
Yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
you were
at least I
saying.
know how to do it, right?
The good side is you don't have 6 pages of it.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, you're lucky. Move to approve pages 1 and 2 with the exception of 1328.
1328? Is that what you said?
That's the motion, yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Okay. Number 6, travel, there's 1 page.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number 7, bills, and there's 3 pages. Page 1.
Page 2. Page 3. motion?
Motion to approve pages 1, 2, and 3.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes. I just want to, for the public, note the size of these expenses. In talking to folks around the state, there are many that don't do this, but previous boards have elected to do this, and we're continuing the process, even though these are pretty mundane bills and don't garner much attention, but in the interest of transparency, we are continuing that process.
Anything further? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Number 8, county commissioners may recess an executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, along with any other matters as specifically identified by motion in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G 1 through 8. Unless expressly stated otherwise during executive session, matters discussed in executive session are designated by the county commissioners as confidential. Because the confidentiality of such matters is necessary for the proper conduct of government business, any disclosure outside of executive session is prohibited by Ohio Revised Code 102.03B. While in executive session, the county commissioners may discuss and deliberate on the matters at issue, but no votes may be taken until open session resumes.
Yes, there's no executive session planned, requested, or planned for today, so let's have the summary sheet.
Move to approve the personnel summary sheet.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Okay. C, public comment on agenda items.
Okay, we have Mike Sherman. Thank you for moving up front.
Both asking for?
Yes.
Both of them moved up front.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike and Mike both moved up front, so.
I know
Thank you,
think
commissioners.
it's church and you sit in the back row, but
Thank
Not
you,
taking
commissioners. Just a question. When can we expect to see the loan repayment and interest earned from the sale of Midway Mall?
Probably when it sells, I guess. That's the Port Authority.
when the Port Authority concludes their deal, right now, the Port Authority, we have a contract with them and they're accumulating interest, and at this point, it's like any other. We're not the owner of the mall anymore, they are. So that would be a good question for the Port Authority Board, and if you check the website, you'll find out when they meet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Michael, welcome.
Morning, Commissioners. Michael DeCarlo, 320 Alberta, Vermilion, Ohio. I'm speaking on the license plate reader thing there, number 19.
Yes.
Just some concerns on it. I get the big picture on why we're doing it, okay? To make sure that we have a chain of command that we follow, it doesn't get violated. Some things I wanted to bring to your attention. We were told that these things read license plates, right? So that's one thing it's supposed to do. However, what else does it do? Date, time, location, make, model, how many occupants in the vehicle. I recently flew to San Diego end of last month through Hopkins, and they were doing updates, the Department of Homeland Security. And I'm a retired SS guy, so I look at these guys that look like Gestapo, all right? As we're going through, the Department of Homeland Security is taking, as you're checking in with your boarding pass, with TSA, they were taking a photograph to update their photo recognition, right? I refused. I gave them my military ID card. Do you have anything else that looks more like you? I gave them the Lorain County Veterans identification card, because I have nothing that looks like me, right? And that doesn't even look like me, but it's newer. But he gave me a hard time because I refused to update my photograph, because I didn't want to play, right? So that's a concern. Because this money comes from what? The Department of Homeland Security. This flock stuff's all tied together with DHS. That's me as an SS guy saying this is caution, because we're actually growing government to actually maintain it because it went out of line. Okay, that's the concern. Whatever we're doing. But appreciate the action. I'm not sure it's the right one, but I don't know. We can't see tomorrow, other than the 6119 is a good deal. I see that as a good deal for tomorrow, right? We can hope that, since we're going to do this, that we take in consideration, since it's supposed to be protecting children, that we can locate these cameras around parks, schools, locations like that where kids play and pedophiles do their job, right? And we can eliminate those people from society. That's the action that we're trying to do here, right? The big thing. And being an old Avon guy, I would recommend a different place in that town where you can put that camera. You have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank you, Michael.
Is there any old business? Or, I'm sorry, is there any other public comment? No.
No, that's
Okay.
it.
Any old business? No? Board business. Approve and waive the reading of the county commissioners meeting minutes of July 16, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
10, approve and enter an agreement with Clark and Post Architects, Inc., Lorain, in the amount of $361,500 to perform professional architectural services related to a new facilities maintenance garage, which will be paid from the capital improvements professional services account.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
911, entering into contract with AT&T for Lorain County 911 agency in the amount of $251,788.33 to provide an on-site maintenance support services to Lorain County 911 and its agencies for AT&T 911 voice maintenance solutions, Vesta 911, Vesta Analytics, and managed services. This is effective retroactive July 15, 2024 through July 14, 2025, and will be paid from the contractual services account.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yeah. Kurt was here. Did he move?
He's in the
There he is. Kurt, you mentioned before about lumens being out of the Vesta business. Did you want to just do a quick review?
Good morning. This contract comes to you guys as our previous contract was with Lumen when we first purchased the Vesta 911 system. Back in March, they informed us that they were going to be getting out of the 911 business. So we had to look for a new vendor to support our services and maintenance. Motorola, who owns Vesta, was going to provide those. They're going to build a company of their own, inside to provide technicians. Then they decided that was a little too more expensive for them to do. So as the only provider around is AT&T, who is very well versed with the Vesta system, contacted us, and I've shown them around to our center, our backup center, and all of our secondary agencies. So they understand our system very well, and put together a quote contract for us, provided much the same as Lumen, what they had provided before. They had a few differences in there. The prosecutor's office made a few changes, and they accepted it, rewrote the contract, and presented it, which now has been approved from the prosecutor's office to be presented to you guys. AT&T has several technicians on hand compared to us having one or two at a time available. Before with Lumen, we were at their mercy. Their techs were not just for Vesta, but they were also for their own phone system. They were the only ones in the county. With AT&T, like I said, they had 7 or 8 people locally that once we call, if there's an issue, they're available within 30 minutes. Yes. Again, as I said, they are a sole provider. They are state purchasing contract with the state of Ohio.
So your pricing came through administrative services? Very good. Any other questions, comments, Commissioner?
Thanks.
I do like to say thank you to Teresa for helping me with this.
Anything further? Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Dell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Number 12, accepting the 911 Standard Operating Guidelines, SOGs, and authorizing 911 Director and Subcommittee to modify as needed in accordance with federal and state guidelines.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes. Rob, would you like to explain the process and where we're at?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, as Commissioners know, back in the first year, we employed MCM consultants to work with us on our communication systems and our guidelines and our different radio system and communication systems throughout the county. One of the things we asked them to do was to update our policy manual and our standard operating guidelines. Some of those things hadn't been updated since 1999, and we wanted to make sure we were in compliance. Jason Roblin, Jeff Seifert have been working with us since the first of the year. They've worked with other counties in the state of Ohio, so we used some of those templates as ideas on what we can do and what we can improve on. We had three basic main objectives. One was to make sure that we're in compliance with both federal, state, and industry standards for what we do. Second was basically making sure we were using best practices, and we looked at our radio procedures and radio process and protocols. We basically looked at some of the things that came from the federal government, from NIMS in particular, with respect to their 2006 recommendation of using common language as opposed to the 10 code system. In addition, we looked at, with the best practices, we looked at how we can do our station alerting and come up with a policy that would basically be standardized throughout the county for that. The last thing we looked at was our efficiency of the center. And the efficiency of the center basically was looking at how we can basically streamline our processes for dispatching and taking calls and sending out calls so that we're not doing it different for every different agency that we work for, but our law enforcement policies are the same for all law enforcement agencies, our EMS policies are the same for all of our EMS agencies, and our fire policies are the same for all of our fire agencies. We're close to being completed on that. We gave them a deadline of October 23rd to finalize the draft. Of August 23rd to finalize the draft so that we can then start implementing these processes with sending it out to all the different agencies we work for them to look at and see, make comments on, and then deal with what the comments that come back to us. But basically our goal is to have a more efficient, more effective communication center and to retain our employees so that they're not all having to be trained on 5 different law enforcement type of protocols, 4 different fire protocols, and who knows how many other things that everybody has their own little idiosyncrasies for different agencies. And we've been getting pretty good feedback from our fire chiefs on this, and we've been looking forward to working with our police chiefs once we get our protocols completed. They're in basically a rough draft form at this point. We have to merge them. We have to do the new policies with the old policies, weed out what's old, what's not needed anymore. But we're pretty close to having that done. And in compliance with Ohio Revised Code 126.06, this commission is our policy board.
Thank you. Also, to add to what the director has said, this is a piece of the puzzle, trying to get the 911 up to speed, as well as we're going to be reaching out to renew and get signed for New World. Part of that process is that we had to get our house in order before we could sign a contract with someone else on what we were going to do for them. So this is the heavy lifting. Sounds like it's been done. There's a process in place for handling some of the minor issues, the micro issues that come up. But the good news is we can turn the prosecutor's office loose and start thinking about getting New World back in compliance.
Well, it's a process that I need this part done. We have a framework agreement's been done in my office that will overlay this part of this phase of it. But this piece needs to be done before we can kick off. So when the consultant and these folks are done, then we can work that side. But we're quite in a holding pattern until that piece is done.
I get that. But we're sending the signal that the heavy lifting has been done, the decisions have been made. We've got to coagulate the document and go to print. but the decision-making process is done. And there's a process in place for any micro or local adjustments in case there's something in Lorain County that's different from Los Angeles County or Columbus or Cuyahoga County, so.
Yeah, and again, Commissioner, we're in the process right now of merging the old with the new to basically take out the stuff that's no longer applicable to us in our policy manuals and our SOGs. And that process is being worked on diligently by MCM to make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, there's not redundancy in where the language comes from for different things, and to make sure all the spelling and grammar is correct and all that other stuff. We're not there yet, but that's what they're working on right now, is that finalization of the draft.
Well, let's hope there's enough talent on the subcommittee to dot the i's and cross the t's and figure out where the commas go. So, but our board as commissioners, they have changed the Ohio Revised Code, and the commissioners are the management board for 911. We are the authority for 911, and the director and his subcommittee are in charge of the change process. And we're in no desire to micromanage the department and get involved in dotting the i's and crossing the t's. We're gonna hold them to the schedule and let the prosecutor's office know that we are ready to get going on New World. So this is all part of public safety, and it's the regulations that go with, and I would be remiss as a relatively new commissioner still, I'm not a rookie anymore, but it's discouraging to find out that there's pieces of law that have not been followed for decades, and that we've not updated things. And I commend our administrative team with tackling every one of those issues and getting us into compliance so that we're ready for what the world throws at us in the future. Other comments from the board?
I have a question for Dan on the process. So, Dan, once we pass this today, the draft that arrived in our emails yesterday, which I was told, I think, Rob, did you receive that on Wednesday, right, from MCM? Yes. It's just a yes or no. So once we pass this, that draft that's in our email, Dan, that becomes a public document?
Well, recognize I haven't seen the draft yet. I mean, Matt sent it to me yesterday afternoon after we talked. I haven't looked at it yet.
It's already a public
I don't know, well, everybody, give me a second, okay? It's a working draft.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a working draft, I doubt seriously that it's a public record, depending on what we receive from MCM and what the next step is. But I would have to talk to Rob about that and find out where he is and what the intent of this draft is. I don't like saying these things in open session, right? But I'm not entirely sure that what you're doing is adopting this document in this resolution.
Mm-mm.
I think what you're doing is saying, I think the intent of this language, as I understand it, would be to say, we're directing Berner to develop standard operating guidelines, and he's telling you he has a draft that's in process.
Mm-hmm.
If that is the intent of the board, then my preliminary conclusion would be it's not yet a public document until it's done and then comes to you as a finished draft. That's what I would say, sitting right here, recognizing I haven't seen a single thing yet at all.
That's how you see it, Rob?
Are you,
Okay.
Can I finish my
Yeah.
questioning? So are you recommending that the board pass the intent then of having a finished product of standard operating guidelines without actually having a finished product today?
I'm not recommending anything, because the first I heard about this was yesterday afternoon. So I'm not gonna recommend anything, the board do anything on this at all.
So you still don't know if the draft is a public document or not at this point?
My advice about what I'm willing to get into in open session, based on the fact that I haven't seen either of the two draft emails that Matt sent to me at 4 yesterday, is my guess is as a draft it is not a public document. But I can examine it and look into it and dig into it with them if you want, and if my advice changes, you can talk about it.
I had another question for Mr. Berner. What is your chain of command at the 911 center?
according to the flow chart from the county,
According to
the
you.
commissioners, the.
No, from you. When you get in your 911 center and you're the director, what's the chain of command?
Director, deputy director, supervisors, shift supervisors, dispatchers.
Okay, that's not correct on your draft. It doesn't match with what you just said.
I haven't reviewed that part of the draft yet, so I don't know what you're.
That was right in the beginning page when you opened it on your email.
Okay.
So, another question I had, since we don't have a final document, it talks about in this document what the process is for changes. So are you saying now that it's in the draft stage and it's not in the final stage and it's not available for the public to review, you can just change anything that you want now without having to go through that process because it's still in the draft?
The document is a draft document. There's draft written in watermark all over the document. There's it's in the draft form of Microsoft Word, which has the notes labeled in the margins. Again, we sent it because the resolution was requested and we basically complied with what was asked for us to provide. What do we have? And as I said earlier in my presentation, our deadline from MCM for a final draft
August 23rd.
is August 23rd.
August 23rd.
We're
That's
over
today.
a month away from that still, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I think that the entire team didn't have enough time to review this, having you guys just getting this 2 days ago. There are obvious mistakes that start on page 1 in this thing, and then it also has, I'm not even gonna get it out. I'm just gonna show people how big this is, so they know. When you get into the first 10 pages, it's got a process for how to make changes to this. So my issue is it can be changed between the time we're talking about it now and August 23rd. You're not going through the process that you're talking about in here to make changes. You're just changing whatever. And it's obvious in the document that there's, and this is not you guys' fault, that there is a lot of cut and paste and there's a lot of verbiage that we don't use in Lorain County. There is a lot of inconsistent verbiage. For that reason, I can't support it. I would like to see, I like that you said August 23rd was the final date. I would like to see us wait till you can review properly, get with MCM, and then come back with a better document. I'm just concerned about, and then I'll tell you the other big flag that I had in here was in the event of domestic terrorism, this lays out what your plan is over there. And I'm very, very uneasy about that, if it's public records requestable.
Well, if it's, again, and not having seen the document, there are reasons other than the fact that it's a transitory document why it would be protected from disclosure. So it would be a public record that we could redact. If there are security issues like that, or security information in there like that, it would get redacted by the people in my office before it would be produced. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise required to be kept confidential by.
I think kind of there's a lot of issues. My opinion is there's a lot of issues. I don't want you to think that I'm against it because you just got it 2 days ago. I just think that there's a lot of issues involved in what I was able to complete last night in reading, and would like us to take an approach where we take our time, since we do have it, since you said we do have it, till August 23rd, to take a better look at it.
Well, I'm not interested. The 25 years to wait for an update's too long. I trust our team. They need to get this thing done by the 23rd. All we're doing is housekeeping. This is a simple housekeeping measure to allow you guys to finish the product. That's all, to make sure you're on the right track. You know, the consultant just gave it to us. I'm not going to nickel and dime where the paragraphs are or the periods are, because I know you're going to do a great job. I know your team's going to do a great job. So this is nothing more than a housekeeping measure. That's all this is.
Well, and it's more than housekeeping.
And it's not even a public document yet. So.
Well, but the point, and may never be a public document because it involves security-sensitive information, so the entire document may not be public anyway. But I think the important part is that our management team uncovered something that was greatly in need of updating. They did the work. They've been at it for 7 months, including that time with the consultant. And all the consultant is doing now is he's not second guessing the decisions and the changes to the policies and procedures, merely integrating the things so that it reads legally in English correctly. And I think that that's no different than sending a document off to the printer and waiting for that review to come. So I respect the idea that we wait for a finished product, but if it has to be reviewed by the very people that are doing it, they've already given us the finished product. And the enemy of progress is perfection. If we wait for perfect, it's not going to come. So I think we need to move forward and understand that there's a process in here for amending any errors that we have going down the road. Like any other government policy and procedure, it includes a procedure for changes with the times and so forth. But we've got a lot going on in Lorain County with public safety, and our policies and procedures, our own housekeeping needs to be in order before we can even begin to talk to other people about what they should do. And so this is merely a step in the process, and I support again my motion to do this and look for support from the board. We're not going down a road we can't go back from. This is progress, and this is what it looks like.
Thank you, Mr. President. You stated in your comment that this was a finished product. I disagree with the statement that it is a finished product. It is a draft. It is obvious, and it was obvious to me when I looked through it last night, there was a lot of cut and paste. We contracted MCM, and then we did at one point, I don't have the date off the top of my head, Teresa would have to look it up. We did an amendment to pay them additional dollars for additional services that included locution. We are paying them to do this. And we just got this 2 days ago. So that's where my issue is. I don't want to be moving forward. This sends a message to the public that, in my opinion, that safety is not our top priority if we're not going to take the time and get it right.
That is your opinion.
And then amend.
Yeah.
That's just your opinion. It's not the appropriate one.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
It would be negligent and a deliberate negligence on our part not to go over it and allow Rob and Kurt to go over it, to go over the document. I certainly don't expect you, Rob, to be able to edit 360 pages in 2 days. I got through 62 pages last night. Thank you.
May I offer a suggestion to the board that might direct some of this? The draft resolution that I believe was sent to you, the therefore clause, I believe we may be able to amend the therefore clause to make it clear what the board intends to do. And I would suggest to the board that a motion be made that the now therefore be it resolved clause in the draft resolution be changed to state, now therefore be it resolved by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners that the Director of Lorain County 911 is directed to review and update the 911 standard operating guidelines and authorize the director and subcommittee to modify as needed in accordance with federal and state guidelines. I think that language better captures both where we are in the process, like Commissioner Huggins talking about, and also like Commissioner Riddell and Commissioner Moore are talking about, that this is an ongoing process and that it's not a finished document yet, and that you are giving 911 the 911 team direction to update what is existing and bring everything into compliance with federal law. I think that would perhaps solve our problem here at the moment.
So you're taking it from what you read here? Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
And Dan, include the August 23rd deadline.
Sure.
It gives them the time to do it.
I would, my personal opinion, doing this on the fly, I would not add a date as to when to do it by. I think federal law applies the date, and we can't change that. And maybe they'll get it done more quickly, and then it can come to you before that. But I think that might clarify things a bit.
Well, Mr. Petticourt, I'd like to point out again that we're out of compliance, and the document gets us into compliance, and I resent the fact that Mr. Berner and Mr. Scholl have not had an opportunity to review the document when they created the document with the advice of council. The subcommittee has been working on this with Jeff Young and the rest of them. This is an ongoing project that's in completion. All we're talking about is we don't have the printer's proof yet.
Rob wants to say
Rob
something.
wants to say something about that, I think.
Just to clarify, we have been working on every section of the document and making different amendments to it. The working group has had separate working groups. We've had people working on strictly policy, people working on SOGs. And it isn't a breathing document. It's not like the Constitution of the United States. It's a set, firm document until it's amended. This is a document that has to be looked at on a daily basis a lot of times. And if a change is needed, we need to be able to change it. What you're seeing is a merged draft document because it's got all the old policies along with the new policies. And that's why it's almost 400 pages, Commissioner. And it should be, the final draft should be under 200 pages. Because what we have right now is both documents. It's got the new stuff and the old stuff is still all there. And what our goal is to have one document when we're done that then can be put into effect, but also modified and updated as needed.
Mr. Riddell, so
Yes.
from my perspective, what I'm saying is if this is a merged issue, okay, the document that was provided to the three of you is not in fact the final document that is going to govern how Rob
No.
operates this segment.
Right, that's-
All of the right information may be in there, and it may be just mechanical issues to get it out. But if that document is not something that he's willing to hang on the wall and say, this is the instruction manual, then we should give him the direction to give me the instruction manual. Take the merge field out, bring it back, and get it, and then get it done. That would be my, rather than, I am concerned about that language about adopting when the document we have says draft all of it. I'm a little concerned,
I'm reading it. You're talking about the resolution here?
yeah, if you look at the last.
The
just
last
whereas.
paragraph?
Yeah,
Oh, the whereas?
therefore be it resolved.
Yeah.
Or see the second line, it says, we hereby accept.
It is-
Well,
No.
do you want me to read? In the matter of directing the 911 director to review and update the standard operating
Oh, wait, you're up at the
guidelines,
top or the
SOGs,
bottom?
I'm
in
the
accordance with
last-
the federal and state guidelines, so I kind of combined it. I just read the top, but it's gonna be.
Oh, I know,
the same as the
I'm
bottom.
looking at it, but I don't see what you're stating.
The document that is in front of me says, the last paragraph says, now therefore be it resolved by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners that we hereby accept the 911 standard operating guidelines and authorize 911 director and subcommittee to modify as needed in accordance with federal and state guidelines.
Which is what he's gonna be doing the next 2 to 3 weeks.
My issue is accept.
With what?
My issue is the word accept. If Rob is saying that it's a merged document and the document needs to be finalized, I don't want to accept it and put that document in stone.
So you want directed, is that what you said?
Direct the 911? That makes no sense.
We hereby instruct the 911 director to update the 911 standard operating guidelines and authorize.
How about if we accept the draft of the 911? I want to accept their work. They've got the project essentially done.
Dan, if we accept their work, it becomes a public document. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Accept is a powerful word.
Okay, so we hereby allow the 911 standard operating agreements and authorize, no, that's not a good word. Give me another word. You're the lawyer, you're the word guy.
I think you said
I said
instruct, right? Dan?
instruct, yeah. We hereby instruct the 911 director,
To update,
how about that? We hereby instruct the 911 director to finalize the draft document.
Yeah, that's all we're doing today, yeah.
instructing him to
Finalize the draft document, or the draft 911 standard operating guidelines as presented to the board. That would,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I'm
I'm good with
yeah,
that.
I'm
yeah,
good with that.
yeah, that's fine, so.
I'm good with that. Teresa, you've got that written down, so then I can talk to Rob a little more?
She's got it taped,
Okay.
I'm sure.
So, Rob, and I don't want anybody, you or Kurt, thinking that, you know, somehow this is coming after you, and you got this 2 days ago. We have paid MCM to do this, the board paid, we did an amendment, so I don't want you to think that at all. Kurt, can you go over, you send us an email every fall about our compliance with the state. Can you go over, just so the public watching today doesn't think that we're not in compliance, can you go over those emails you send us in the fall when they come in?
Yeah, so every September, we have to report the state of Ohio on our analytics, our call volume, how many wireless calls we have, how many wireline. And we have to show what the state requires in our SOGs. So we have a set of SOGs that we had updated on certain parts. So we do have them, but now we're trying to get them fully compliant with everything else, with our CAG system, our phone system, the radio system. Everything that we're required by the state of Ohio on how we handle calls, how we answer them, the process for everything has been in compliance with the state of Ohio.
Thank you. Thank you for the work you guys do over there too. Appreciate it. It's
Thank you.
24 hours a day.
Just so you know why we're looking at this now is we believe it's the service to our agencies that we get their invoices out to them for their share of the title in the world. And we can't do that until we finish these policies. And that's kind of why I was pushing for a deadline date, so that we're not into the next fiscal year again for the agencies to get billed for their which they've agreed upon when we started the process with New World, but because of the agreements we had with them were invalidated, we want to make sure we have good validated agreements, correct?
Yeah, valid
Okay.
agreements- valid agreements are always.
And the valid agreements do reference the policy manual.
Right. No, I know this is housekeeping, but we'll fix it. Now therefore, I'm gonna amend my resolution now and therefore to be resolved by Lorain County Commissioners to instruct and authorize the 911 director and subcommittee to modify as needed in accordance with the federal and state guidelines, the 911 standard operating guidelines, known as SOGs.
Yeah.
That's my amended. So do I need a second for that?
I'll second the amendment.
Does that amendment get you, Jeff and Rob and Kurt, does that get you where you need to go to advance the project?
Okay, well, as long as you're happy, we're happy.
There we go.
So thanks. Okay, we got to vote on it?
Anything further? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Dell?
Aye.
Commissioner, since we're on 911, I want to just give you a quick update.
Well, we're
We
still,
have to finish the there were two parts to it, Rob.
That was that we approved the change in the language.
just
Just
Why
for,
I'm here to complicate it more.
all we did was just took the word instruct, that's all.
right, so, but I appreciate, I just want to, before we close the discussion, I want to thank Kurt for illuminating that we do turn a lot of reports in, and we're not, that the whole thing is not out of compliance. You know, that was never meant to be the inference. But you don't go in and fix half the engine, you go in and fix the whole engine. And so the reports that we give out every year are basically volume calls and a lot of those things, and asking us if we've done certain things. And all we're saying is that we've missed some things, and this is probably the first comprehensive overview of the SOGs in quite a while, and we're cleaning it up because there's a lot at stake as we go forward with New World and the communication system and so
Well,
forth.
And next gen too.
And next
Yeah.
gen coming down the road, we've got to get we can't expect the federal government and the state government to take care of us. We've got to get our house in order so that we can play the game. And that's what this is all, it starts with our own house. Any other comment from the board? Okay, let's call the vote on it.
Done the amendment.
Need a motion? We already did
On the
that. I
motion.
just need a motion, a second to approve what you guys just amended.
I
We
did.
amended the motion.
I made the motion and we seconded
You
it.
amended it, Dave, so
Yeah.
we approved the amendment, so now I will move to approve the resolution as amended.
Second?
Any further discussion?
it's a two-vote
Right,
process.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye. Now, there you guys go.
Now, there you go, Rob.
Anything else to add, Rob?
Yeah, everybody in the room is aware there was a national outage for data and information. We were just informed that our center is back up and operational at this point.
Well, this morning when I came in, I got the call at 6 and I talked to the IT guys and I guess Russell was right over there. And you guys were right on it and,
Until 6, they called me at 1 in the morning.
well, you're the big guy, you know, we're just,
We got the email in the morning.
yeah. So when I went up and talked to our IT guys, they were all over it and sounds like you guys didn't miss a beat.
Morning, that means you've got a 9-hour day already.
Yeah.
3 a.m.
But I appreciate your team where I heard they went back to old school and we didn't miss a beat over there. I didn't know if you want to touch on that. Kurt will, so.
So with everything, with this outage especially, we reach out, there's no internet access. We had no way of emailing or sending out our pages to our different teams when there's an issue. We were able to make phone calls. Our 911 system never went down. It's just our internet and our CAD system was affected by it. So we still had phone system, we still had radios, we still had our contacts going out. We did make contact with the individual departments throughout the night and with, the fire departments and police departments, so they were aware of what was going on. I don't think we had any issues throughout the night, any contact issues. But everything still worked, it was just having the internet, with the Microsoft issue. With today, everything coming up slowly, everybody worked together between our IT department, our dispatchers, and our management staff. So everything was very professional, everybody worked together and got it done.
Oh, you guys did a great job.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, number 13, Job and Family Services, authorized purchase service agreement with ComDoc, North Canton, Ohio, to provide a copier lease for 19 copiers for a 60-month lease to begin retroactive July 5th to 24 in the amount of $1,125 per month and paid by copy services account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell.
Aye.
Under sanitary engineer, 14, certified delinquent sanitary sewer accounts, Lorain County Auditor for collection on a tax duplicate for the year 2024, collection year 2025. There are a total of 1,328 customers at an estimated amount of $449,917.10.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell.
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
15, enter into sanitary sewer improvement agreement with Pulte Homes of Ohio LLC for Del Webb Hickory Green subdivision number 1 and 2 in Columbia Township. Upon completion, the new sanitary sewer will be located within an easement granted to Lorain County Sanitary Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yep.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Stormwater Management Award 16 award contract to Flow Properties Inc. DBA Wolf Contracting, Wakeman, Ohio, in the amount of $402,748.80 plus a 10% contingency if needed for the 24 ditch maintenance project. 7 bids were open on July 8th, this being the most responsive compliance with specifications and will be paid out of the stormwater account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes. Last night, we at the Lorain County Township Association, Rob Duncan and his team did a 45-minute or 1-hour presentation on stormwater management. I don't know if you want to add it. I mean, it was a good presentation. I think everybody appreciated the work that you guys are doing and that we're finally getting bids on this kind of stuff. So I don't know if you want to add to that or.
Yeah, well, specifically to this, thank you, commissioners, for your support of stormwater. And specific to this, we were excited, as I think Don said on Tuesday, because we actually did get 7 bids on this. And if I'm not mistaken, I think all of them, maybe except for one, came in under the engineer's estimate. So we're very excited to get this process going. And just real quick to say on this, our current estimate is that we're, as far as our county ditches, the commissioners over the decades have placed many miles under maintenance. And right now, our estimate is about 58.2 miles of ditches that are under maintenance, excluding tiles. So that being said, on our annual inspections on this, how do we maintain these ditches? We do go out and inspect them. And again, this is not done with drones. Each ditch is physically inspected from the ground. So it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to go out. Then again, there's mowing and spraying to control the woody vegetation. There's cleaning and dipping, and that's a lot what this is about. The 7 ditches that are actually in this resolution here are Delafield, Curtis Phase 1, Draper, which is the Huron County laterals, and I'll explain that real quick. The Zerker, the Higgins, the Fowl Road, the Schroeder Ditch, and the Shrum lateral. And we did have some questions about why the Huron County, and that's because of the 6133 for adjoining county ditches. Those guys actually pay us to take care of those ditches, so we have an obligation to do so. That being said, there's 19,675 lineal feet to be cleaned is our estimate with this project, and that's 6.4% of our ditches. It's about a 20-year process, 20 to 25-year process to get all this done. And this is a great, we're really excited about getting this much done this year, finally. So, but anyway, our team did a great job last night presenting for the county commissioners, and we have a great team up there right now.
Yep. You got lots of compliments from the trustees, so congrats.
Well, the good news is not only 7 bidders, but 3% from the first to the second, and the top 3 bidders within 5%.
Correct.
So that means they're good, solid bids. You can expect the work to get done well.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Is there anything further? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations, 17, approve and renew the operating agreement between the County Commissioners and Earmark Correctional Services, LLC, Pennsylvania, to provide food service for the Detention Home Facilities Complex. Agreement is effective retroactively for 1 year, beginning July 1st of 24 and ending June 30th of 25, with 2 renewals at 1 year each remaining by mutual agreement of the parties. Said contract contains a 60-day written cancellation clause and will be paid from contract services account.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Under the Sheriff, 18, authorize execution of local jail capital project grant agreement with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction with respect to Lorain County Jail Facility in the amount of $190,913 for the sprinkler system.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Karen. She grabbed that mic pretty quick, so.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So this is a rather unusual situation. Some way, somehow, me, failed to get this resolution in front of the board for approval. You approved our request for the grant. In some way, somehow, I'm not sure how, neither Teresa and I can figure it out. We never did ask for you to approve the grant agreement. So we're like coming back, just trying to do our paperwork, do some housekeeping, make sure that we're doing the right thing. So we do have, the prosecutor did approve it as to form, so we should be good to go right now. We did go for our rebid on this work, so I'm waiting to get the bids back on that.
Anything further?
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Okay, 19. I did send you a little verbiage. It's correct in the resolution, just not on the agenda, and Major Barker is here if you have questions. But 19, I'm gonna read it like it should be. Entering into a master service agreement with Flock Group, Inc., Atlanta, Georgia, to purchase license plate reader cameras and the program software for the cameras in the amount of $103,650. The sheriff has requested the purchase of the 15 license plate reader cameras placed throughout Lorain County, along with program software to aid in alerting and locating missing, wanting persons, stolen cars, etc., which will be paid out of the equitable sharing account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, do you want to speak to this since she came in?
Good morning. Hi, my name's Donald Barker. I'm a major at the Lorain County Sheriff's Office. And I understand concerns for the automatic license plate readers. They don't do traffic enforcement. The only thing they allow us to do is look for suspect vehicles. And this morning, when I found out this morning this was being put on, so I did up a couple just quick examples. Several years ago, we had a homicide. A fellow was killed. He's from Lorain. He was killed and dumped on Pratt Road down in Huntington Township. A passerby finds the body. When we identified who that person was, then we go back to Lorain and try to track out the neighborhood. From that, we knew where they were from. We checked with Ohio Leads to see if what license plates had been run during that night. By coincidence, an Oberlin officer ran a neighbor's license plate to the victim. Going back and doing our investigation, the neighbor and the victim had conflict. We got a search warrant for the neighbor's car, and we actually found the tip of a zipper where it was shot off of the victim in the neighbor's car. So that was coincidence, and we was able to solve that. We have another case where Darla Custra was struck by a vehicle on State Route 57. Her lower portion of her leg was amputated. Some kids walking in the area find the lower portion of the leg. We canvassed that whole area, never found her body. So, knowing the time frame, because there's cameras everywhere in our society, we saw cameras from a Circle K up in Lorain, so we know the route she walked. We canvassed that area down, and I went out there in the early morning hours and sat looking for a vehicle that was possibly the one that could strike her and do that kind of damage. We never found it. We never found her body. So that's one of the incidents there. Recently, we had a homicide on Lake Avenue. A fellow was shot on his motorcycle. Our detectives go out there. They checked. We had a suspicious vehicle, but nothing else on the vehicle description. By checking with the Flock network, Amherst PD, who has it, had a suspect on State Route 58 who pointed a gun at another subject. Within, it was 45 minutes, they had the person identified and arrested for the homicide. So it's valuable. It has to be used appropriately. Officers have to do their due diligence. Just because the vehicle matches is not my reason to pull people out at gunpoint. I have to do my investigation. Because I've read different complaints on how things get handled, but we'd see that all the time. Oftentimes, if a person has a warrant, I'll get notice that Don Barker, there's a warrant for a guy named Don Barker. I have to check I have the right Don Barker. It's not just grab this guy, cuff him, and take him to jail, because there are several other Don Barkers in our state and in our country. So anyhow, that's one of the reasons we wanted to go forward with it, and then being able to use our equitable sharing funds. And it's a 2-year contract, so we can see if it works or not for us. Okay.
So other communities already have this?
Yeah, Lorain, I know Lorain has it, Amherst has it. Off the top of my head, Elyria has cameras, but they don't use Flock. North Ridgeville's got it. And the good thing with this is that we can use each other's system. So if we have, in Lorain County, we have so many areas that transition, like State Route,
Right.
254. We're transitioning through there all the time. So if there's a incident that happens, we can check that area and see if the car went north into Lorain, south into Elyria, east or west. I know working the midnight shift, what we learned to do is we would get an alarm. We would have our first officer get there and say it's a good alarm. Just hold that building, and then we check the area. We didn't go there because people take off. They're fleeing, and it's typically in cars. So, I mean, it's got its purposes, like I said, but the officers still have to do their due diligence. It's not the definitive. So.
Yeah, North Ridgeville just got a hit on that in the last couple months, right, Jeff?
Right. North Homestead and Westlake also have it, so we can, police departments share that information as cars move, and it really is safety service directors had it was introduced to us several years ago, and Flock is used all over the whole state. I endorse it, and I mean, it's really good.
Correct. Thank you.
You'll enjoy it.
That, as you understand, it's like, this is, is this an infringement on our privacy? Is it an infringement on our rights? That's the fine line. And based on today's society, it seems that everybody has a camera on their front door.
Well, and that's,
You know?
when we have an incident, the first thing we do is look for Ring doorbells.
Yeah.
And start going to houses, looking, and their video on the street. With Darla Custra's case, the video we had of her was from Circle K for their parking lot, where she walked through. So, I mean, they're everywhere, and again, it has to be used appropriately, but I totally understand, because trust me, I'm one of those guys that's like, hey, I don't need you watching everything I'm doing.
Yeah, well.
But,
But you're getting 15 of them, so are they
Yes,
going to
sir.
be in the townships, or are you guys commingling with other communities, or?
they'll be in our townships.
Okay,
And then what happens, I think with Flock, once you have a minimum of 8, you can access other police agencies'
oh,
networks.
okay.
So we could access North Ridgeville, access Amherst, they can access ours.
So is there going to be other fees associated with this? Because this looks like this is just the purchase.
That's why the first year is more, because that's the installation and all that. Second year is just the fees for
The
the
service.
maintenance and upkeep, the service. And then we have to make the determination if we want it for the next year or not.
And is the service fees and everything's come out of the same account?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, Mr. President, do you want to just have Teresa put the resolution under the camera? Because it's different from what was on the agenda yesterday.
Correct.
Just so everybody sees it.
Good catch.
Correct.
I want to take the time to thank you, Major. We count on you folks to help us do what we do. And our job is, as you know, budgetary authority and all that good stuff. But, much like the other departments, we count on you folks to tell us what we need to do to provide a high quality of life. And certainly having the sheriff's department integrate with the rest of the county is like absolutely terrific.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you. Thank you.
Anything further? Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
County Administrator's update?
County Administrator, you have anything left?
Okay.
Thank you.
How about
Nope,
you, clerk?
Not Karen either?
Madam
Okay. Just the Commissioner sent a retirement proclamation to Lynn O'Brien on her retirement of 26 years with JFS. Board
Put that on
correspondence?
the sheet.
Move to waive the reading of the board correspondence.
Second?
Discussion? Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Riddell?
Aye.
Is there new business?
So I just wanted to know, it's not really new business, it's in meeting business, Dan.
Okay.
We never pulled back the original motion on the, oh gosh, number 12.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
that's
so
why
it
it kind
actually
of-
would have been a 3-process step,
Yep.
not a 2-process step. So are you good with that, or do you want us pulled it back, or?
I am comfortable with the fact that that it's clear, the modification is clear. And really what we were modifying, I'm very comfortable that it's clear what we did and that we did it appropriately under the rules of the board in our normal course. As long as Teresa is comfortable that the language.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Teresa's comfortable? We're all
We have-
Are we
comfortable.
all comfortable?
Correct?
You're not
We have the-
comfortable?
we have
Or do you want it pulled back, Teresa?
It never happened.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I know it's been a while.
It's on the tape, but.
You got the
Teresa
tape.
will fix it.
No, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, because I thought about that, that's why I kind of had that question, and then we just
We
went
don't.
through it, so.
And then her and I had the light bulb moment, I'm like,
No, we're fine.
I'm comfortable with the way it got done.
okay.
Okay, anything further under new business?
Any more public comment? You had the sheets.
I
And,
guess public comment.
yeah, both our speakers this morning also checked public comment. Did you cover what you needed to cover earlier, or do you have additional commentary?
I have a few moments, President.
Please come up, Michael.
I'm good.
Thank you,
Of course you
Mike.
are, Mike.
So this is for everybody.
Morning,
Afternoon.
Mr. Michael Carlo, 320 Alberta Vermillion. Good to see you again, Mr. President and Commissioners. I'm along the same line that we touched on before, but we're going to expand upon that. Last November, the voters of the state of Ohio legalized cannabis, right? But yet, the state has been in institutional inertia to be able, for the citizens to be able to procure it, because they haven't figured out a tax strategy to capitalize on it yet. Because here's the big thing, right? I'm 54 years old, so my entire lifetime, cannabis has been illegal in the state of Ohio. Can you imagine, if you just push back for a moment, how many people got drugged into the judicial system over this plant? They're no longer going to be brought into court anymore. They're no longer being sent to jail over this stuff anymore. There's no longer a huge need for this plant supervision agencies. Taking that into consideration, and how the state and its entities have resisted this. They wanted to, if you look over the last year, it's just been drug enforcement this, drug enforcement that, drug enforcement this. But the thing is 1/3 of it's been out up at smoke. It's kind of funny. It's not even funny, not when it comes to government, because it's our tax dollars at work. Ms. Dung, you brought up domestic terrorism. And only thing I could tell you with that domestic terrorism, ma'am, was that I would hope you would research Building 7 of the World Trade Center, because it is the only building that is concrete, steel reinforced concrete, that collapsed with office fires. And if you can take that into consideration and reassess just what the domestic terrorists and who they are, perhaps we can move on and start progressing, Mr. President, showing some progress. The fact that our local government is using state secret privileges to redact things from the public, as someone who had a top secret clearance at one time, and I could tell you that on a deck log of a nuclear powered submarine that is deployed, the only thing that's classified on there, I can redact that and I can give you everything if I take the latitude, longitude, and the date and time away. Everything else, you have no idea where we are. We were never there. It never happened. Here you go. But as an individual who's here, I think that all of us, every single one of us, should be able to inspect the paperwork that is provided by the government at our local, or at the very lowest level. You know? But anyway, I appreciate your time. Thanks for not flipping over the thing. I'll leave you alone. Have a great weekend.
It sounds like, Mike, you have work to do down at the state with the marijuana then. Will you be making the trip?
I go to Michigan, man. So I mean, I don't got it's closer. It's closer than Columbus. It's closer than Columbus, right?
Yeah, it's already legal there, right? Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Hey, mention throws in Michigan, and everybody's got to
That's
laugh.
another shining example how those Michigan Wolverines.
Oh.
Thank you. That being completed, our meeting is adjourned.
Typical.
Don't forget to go out to the fairgrounds this weekend.
Typical.
That's where my husband went to Michigan every week.
There we go.
Have a good weekend.
You were just buying?
Those, yes,
Yeah.
those folders are.
You already signed the.
Okay. I have a graduation party at 2:00.
Oh, I'm with that one. Yeah.
I mean, plenty of time. Of course.
Right.
It's 4:00.
Oh, yeah. we got plenty of time. All right, have a safe
Okay,
trip.
you too.
Let me know when you want to review the 911 guidelines, and I'll bring you over some bourbon and a couple of extra cigars.